G'day guys, Luke here. Welcome back to another video. In today's guys, we are doing the Reptile update for July 2026. Now we are starting with the Gibson War Dragons. Now this enclosure here is 180 centimeters long by 90 by 90. Let's have a look on the inside of the enclosure and check out the residents. Here's a closer look on the inside of the enclosure. As you can see, there's one of the girls submerged underneath the water. We'll get to her in a moment. Now I've got a nice pond there for these guys to soak in and have a little bit of a swim around. There's a shallow section and a deeper section, as you can see. Some rocks in there too to help them get in and out of the water bowl. Now, since it's winter time here in Australia, I have thrown a heater in the water just to stop the water from, freezing over as well. Make the water a bit more comfortable for these guys. Now, on the outside of the water there, we've got the sands and substrate, hides, logs, rocks, even fake rocks as well. We've got branches, hammocks, foam backings, and a hot box. And of course, on top of the enclosure, we've got tarps and shade cloths, or anything weather protection, just to provide more of a comfortable living quarters for these guys. Our first girl we're going to say hello to is Gamora. Now I thought she was dead here, but she was just sleeping underneath the water. That's what water dragons do. So once she woken up and realised it was me, she was like, nope, I'm out of here. Typically Gamora here is a very shy lizard, so every time I approach the enclosure or trying to get her out, she's either running from me, or when I do grab her, she's putting up a bit of a fight. These two beautiful girls here, their names are Lime and Jade. So Lime here is on the left hand side while Jade is on the right. Now with these two girls as well as Gamora, they look quite similar, so sometimes I have to really look to see who it is. Sometimes the little personalities do show you quite quickly. I like Gamora, she'll run off, while these two girls usually stay put. Now with Lime and Jade, I can get my hands somewhat close to these two before I decide to do a side step, just to make sure I'm not going to hurt them. But when I do get them out, sometimes they do struggle a little bit, but not as badly as Gamora. Shigo and Bruce here were hiding in the hot box. So Shigo is the one at the back there, while Bruce is the one on the right hand side there with the big buffy head. It's kind of ironic with Bruce, he's the big dominant male, but he's often the first one to run and hide from me when I come up to the enclosure, just to check on them or even put food in the enclosure. Shigo there, she'll often just sit there, watch what I'm doing. Oftentimes she'll be the first one to the food bowl and whatnot. Sometimes I can get away with giving her a little bit of a head scratch, other times not really. So out of all the girls, she'd probably be a bit more the friendlier out of the bunch. Then next to that would be Lime, then Jade, and the last one would be Gamora. Making our way into what I like to call the snake room. However, we are checking out one of my monitors first. So this enclosure here is 120 centimeters, which houses my Reptile monitor Rosu. In this enclosure, we have sands and substrate. We've got a fake rock stack they can hide into. As you can see, he's got his butt sticking out. We've got a fake hide there, well, fake termite hide where I filled up with sand, wet it down so you can burrow in that, get a bit more moisture and humidity to help shed his skin. Fake plant, branches, water bowl, got heat and UVB. Rosie here wasn't particularly happy at the time of recording. Typically he's quite relaxed. Oftentimes I can get him out, handle him, and he's pretty easy going. However today I guess I woke him up and he was a bit annoyed with that. To be fair, I can relate to that. Now he has been offered food a little bit lately, I guess because it's been much cooler. He doesn't think he needs to eat as much. But every time I get the old superworms out or pinky mice, he goes feral. So when it comes to feeding, he's quite funny to watch. Above Rosie, we do have two entries to go through. One of them is my male blind spotted python, Caesar. Then Valentino, who's a children python, who we'll get to in a moment. Now Caesar here, for some reason, every time we do these reptile updates, he's always in this particular hide here, where we can't get a good look at him. However, I find out every single night when I go check in the snake room, he's out and about, so next time I might get a shot of him doing his thing of a night time. Currently off food at the moment, pretty typical snakes for this time of year. But apart from that, he's doing just fine. Then here's his name of Valentino. Very cheeky, this snake. He likes to set up an ambush. Particularly, he likes to set up the ambushes where he's currently sitting or in his warm hide just in front of him. He just has a habit of biting me. However, he's all year round, which is kind of ironic as you've got two snakes housed very similar to each other. But one will eat all year round, while the other one not really. Valentino and Caesar set up, they're both housed in their own 60 centimeter enclosures. In their enclosures, we do have the aspen beddings and substrate. 3 hides for these guys that are going to hide out as a bit more of a shyer individuals. Got a water bowl, fake plants, branches, backing. They both have their own separate heat pads, often to the left hand side of the enclosure, and they both share a light strip on top of the enclosure. So they've got the same kind of stuff, they just lay out a bit differently. On the top shelf, we've got a pair of 70 centimeter enclosures that houses my 2 brown tree snakes, Willow and Diablo. So with their setups, we've got the aspen bedding as a substrate. Multiple hides for these two to go into, as brown tree snakes like to kind of wedge themselves in crevices and gaps, stuff like that. water bowl, fake plant, branches, a backing that I made myself with a couple of different styles to make the enclosures a little different to each other. They've got a heat pad as well to the left hand side of the enclosures, and they share a light strip as well with pretty much half the room. We'll drop in and say g'day to Diablo first. Now, Diablo has outgrown his name. When he was a baby, he was a demon, but as time went on and the more interaction we did together, much more got used to me. So now he's a sweet boy. Sadly, he didn't want to come out and say hello to us today, but there's always next time. Still eating at this time of year. Tried to get him on hopper mice not too long ago, but he wasn't really keen on the bigger food items, so I'll find with brown tree snakes they prefer smaller food items but more of them. So Diablo there gets 3 fuzzy mice every feed, well, if he's hungry. Now this is his partner in crime, Willow. Now she's a polar opposite. She is still quite a feisty young female. Still working with her on that. Kind of interesting too, she's currently off food at the moment. So it's kind of funny yet again where you got 2 snakes from the same species, housed in identical setups, yet one will eat and the other will not. But saying that, she's doing very well. Moving over to our now happy chappy. Beforehand, he was quite sad where he went off food for about 14 months. Then he had a couple of feeds, went off, had a couple more feeds and went off again. He's been eating a bit more consistently as of late, so that's made me more relieved. Even though he's only taking weaner or juvenile rats, but saying that, something's better than nothing. And at the moment, he's being a very protective boyfriend as he's sitting on top of the hide, overlooking his girlfriend Orchid, who we get to next. Here's our beautiful girl, always looking for more food. Now, she's pretty much double the weight of Chappy, which at first made me a bit more worried, but saying that I need her to bulk up as she's the one who lays the eggs, right? So she's been a proud mum for the last 4 seasons, so I'm hoping to make it the 5th year in a row with these two. She recovers quite well after laying eggs, actually, so I'm never worried about her, and she always produces a nice, healthy clutch. Now, with Orchid, when she's in the cage, she's always looking for food. Once you get her out, she knows there's no food. She's pretty easy going. Now, Chappy and Orchid are housed in a 120 centimetre enclosure. In the enclosure, I've got the aspen bedding, got a hide, the nesting box in there that they like to sit on top sometimes, water bowl, branches, fake plants, got a ceramic heater in there too, and a display light on top of the enclosure. Just below Chappy and Orchid, we do have another 120 centimetre enclosure that houses my diamond python Atram. Now, Atram, he went for an operation a couple of months ago, so we are going to keep his house quite bare at the moment. So we've got newspaper at the moment as his bedding. We've got his water bowl, a couple of hides in there, a couple of branches he can perch on. Last month I had to take them out because he had his operation. He's happy again to have those back, as you can see he's perched up on there. Got UVB, as diamond pythons still require UVB, and a heat element as well. He's the man of the moment. Now, unfortunately, since his operation, that lump he had removed has come back. And basically, we can't do another operation because there's no point, consistently removing that lump. So the plan of attack is, as long as Atram is eating, showing signs of, being all there, he's not showing any signs of discomfort and whatnot, we'll keep him going. But as soon as he stops eating or his personality changes or whatever the case may be, we'll look at putting him down. So at the moment, he's still eating, he's still all there 100%. It looks a bit odd with that lump on his head, but there's nothing much more we can do. However, I am keeping a close eye on his health, and if he starts to deteriorate, then we'll go from there. Ray the Rosenberg monitor here is doing good, guys. He's still currently housed his 180 centimetre enclosure. Hopefully, once they get this wire mesh and have the cage all together, he will go outside when it warms up. I'm a bit worried if I put him out there during the cooler month of the year, he may not go all too well. So that when it warms up and he can at least move around the enclosure quite easily, then we can do that. Ray is still housed in his 180 centimetre enclosure. So in his enclosure, I've got his standard substrate, water bowl, branch, backing that he's destroyed, his hammock, his fake plant that he's also bulldozer and destroyed as well. A couple of rocks in there too, so with the heat there, the heat will radiate down, heat up those rocks, so you can sit on them for some extra heating. He's kind of off them at the moment, but he does use them from time to time. He's got his hide as well, and his UVB as well. Above Ray, we have another 180 centimetre enclosure to go through. This time housing my black-headed python Chris, who we'll say hello to in a minute. Now with Chris's setup here, we've got 2 monster hides in here for her. Actually, it's quite a large snake. Got a heat, light, backing, a branch she'll use from time to time, a fake plant, water bowl, and a substrate. It's kind of this reptile hemp stuff, which is kind of new to me, so I'm trialing it out, see how it goes. And so far, the animals I have put it in with, they seem to be enjoying it. Here's our big, beautiful girl. Now, Chris is doing exceptionally well, smashing through as always. Now, she's probably pushing about 8 feet in length, and I reckon almost 5 kilos in weight. Maybe I should get her out one day just to see how much she actually weighs. But besides the point, she's doing just fine. Now, when I get her out, she does like her cuddles, gets a bit of a stretch. And when it comes to food, she's a very different animal. So I've got to be on my toes, as if I get complacent, she will nail me. And trust me, it's not fun getting bitten by her. She hurts. Above Chris, we got Graham, who is our oldest reptile in the family. She used to be the second eldest behind Superstar, but since we lost Superstar back on Good Friday, she's now become the eldest in the family. Her and I believe, are still trying to move on from the passing of Superstar. Still getting used to not having Superstar in his reptile room videos, and I think Graham's still adjusting having no cage mate. But saying that, Graham was eating until more recently, probably because we had a bit of a warmish start to the winter period. She was still quite interested in food, but since a bit of a cold snap came through, she's been lost interest in food. Graham is housed in a 90 centimeter enclosure by herself now. So we've got a substrate, 3 hides, water bowl, a branch, we've got a couple of rocks in there too, and a bit of timber just to help her shed her skin, a display lamp, backing, and a heating as well. Next to Graham, we do have a 1 meter enclosure that houses my breeding pair of children pythons. Their names are Aaron and Emma. So their enclosure, as well as Graham's, are stacked on top of Chris's enclosure, forming the top shelf basically. With Aaron and Emma's enclosure, we have the bedding, multiple hides in this enclosure, so these two snakes can get away from each other. However, as of late, they've been quite lovey-dovey. More on that in a minute. We've got branches, we've got water bowl, fake plants, heat, display light, and a backing to set up the enclosure quite nicely. Aaron and Emma here are doing fantastic. Unfortunately, I have caught them in the act twice now. Now, to be fair, I was going to get them out to feed them. However, when I saw them doing their thing, I thought, put the hide back and leave them be. So they've gone without food for about a month. To be fair though, they're probably not going to be interested in food. So the one who just poked her head out there, that is Erin. She's a beautiful girl, doing absolutely well. The one who just swung around again and coming back towards us, that's Emma. Here's the boy. Now, with Erin, I can get her out, cuddle her, and no issues whatsoever with her. But with Emma here, he's kind of in protective boyfriend mode at the moment, so he's a little bit twitchy. To be fair, I can't blame him. He's got a beautiful girlfriend, and he wants to protect her, so God love him. Making our way from the snake room into the lizard room, we're starting off with Charcoal, who is our male spine-tailed gecko. He's doing exceptionally well, as you can see. Now, I don't see Charcoal all too much, as he's quite shy. He usually come out at the dead of night, hunt his food, and when he sees me, he often makes his way back to the hide to get away from me, or go, if I can't see you, you can't see me, which is fair enough. I'll leave him be, and just check on him every once in a while, make sure he's doing well. Unlike Charcoal, Luna here, who's our female spine-tailed gecko, 9 times out of 10, she'll be out on a branch or on the side of the enclosure, just hanging out, doing whatever she wants. And when I drop food in her enclosure, she goes into a madman and starts hunting down her food like a serial killer. So it's a very entertaining gecko to watch when it goes into feeding mode. And just overall, kind of just a completely different animal compared to Charcoal. But she's doing well. Might end up pairing these guys a bit later on and get a couple clutches from them. Now with Charcoal and Luna, they house in their own separate enclosures at the moment, which are these little 30 by 20 centimeter acrylic tubs. Stands as substrate, branches for these guys to climb onto, hides. Luna has a fake plant, water bowl, and these guys are kept at kind of a darker shelf with a heat pad. I'll just pull them out so it's easier to film their enclosures. We have a bunch of small enclosures to go through here, but to make life much easier, let's go through all of them at once. So the one on the top right there is a 50 by 30 centimeter enclosure that has a trio of Sheo skinks. Then the other 60 you see on screen there, they're 30 by 30s that has one Sheo skink in each one. We're going to the setups. We have coconut fiber as a substrate, sphagnum moss in there that are wet down, which the Sheos like to burrow into. They've got proper hides in there too, bit of bark as well for extra cover, water bowl, UVB. Now there's a heat cord that runs through the shelving unit providing heat to the backside of the enclosures. And of course we provide food bowls in these enclosures as these guys need to eat. Starting along the bottom row first, we'll go from left to right. So the first one I'm saying g'day to is Will. Now Will here loves his food as he's got a chonky little Sheo skink, pretty laid back for the most part. And of course being winter, half of these guys are going into brumation. Our next little fella here, his name is Jack. He's a bit of a funny bugger where sometimes he mistakes my fingers for food. When I put the food bowl in, he gets really excited and yeah, trying to take a piece out of me. But once he realises I'm not food, he calms out a little bit. Our next little friend here, his name is Davey. Very much like Will, they're both food lovers. They'll eat everything in their food bowl. Once they've got a belly full of food, they'll find a nice warm spot to sleep it off. And very much like Will, they're pretty chill guys, these two. Barbosa here is a very secretive little she-oak skink. He'll come out when it's very quiet. He will have a bit of a nibble, then goes back underneath the substrate. He might come back out again later, have a bit more of a nibble, but then he disappears again. So Barbosa here has a very secretive life. Moving up to that 50 cm enclosure that has my trio, so pretty much my adult group of she-oaks that get along just fine. The first one we're checking out is Ghost. Now Ghost here hates me. If I put my hand near him, he freaks out. If I touch him, he bites me. If I pick him up, he poops on me. When I put him back, he freaks out. There's no pleasing this lizard, but I still love him. Here is one of Ghost's little cage mates. This is Gum. Now Gum here is a very different looking she-oak where he's more of that bluish phase, given the name Blue Gum. That's how he's got his name. Now Gum here is a very easygoing she-oak. Oftentimes just likes to take little naps here and there. When I pick him up, he doesn't seem to have too much of a worry. However, he does poop on me as well. So that's fun. Our last member of the trio is Jara. Unlike the other two, Jara here does not poop on me when I pick him up. However, he's like Barbosa. Every now and again, I'm going to go into the cage and make sure he's still okay, still alive, and at least still in there, because with that long body of his, I wouldn't put it past him. He will try to get out from time to time. But saying that, he's pretty quiet. Speaking of quiet, next door to the trio, we've got this little girl here named Callisto. Callisto and Jack lost part of their tails when they were babies, so that's why I separated the younger ones, as they're trying to kill each other, basically. By saying that, Callisto is very quiet, tends to keep to herself, and on the rare occasion she'll come out and build the courage to, I guess, beg for food. Our last little she-oak skink on the shelf here, we do have one more she-oak skink, but we see them later in the video. This is Pearl. Pearl's an absolute sweetheart of a she-oak skink. Kind of funny with her that when it comes to feeding day, she gets really excited. She'll start circling the enclosure, and sometimes she'll reach up trying to grab the food bowl as I'm putting it into her enclosure. Above the she-oak skinks, we do have two Cunningham skinks to go through. Their names are Meatlug and Toothless. The one we're looking at here, his name is Meatlug, and his name is very suiting. So with Meatlug here, I've got him as an adult already. Unfortunately, that trust and bond isn't exactly the strongest. Unfortunately, when I do get him out, he will try to bite me. And he has been successful on a couple of occasions where he's latched on and I'm been begging for mercy. So I hate getting bitten by him. So I'll be honest, I kind of leave him be in peace so I don't stress him out all too much. However, we've got Toothless, who is the more calmer and sweeter of the two Cunninghams. Toothless here was raised from a baby, so we do have that bond and trust here. So I'm still working on that, as there's some days he's still a bit flighty, but he's been pretty good. Now, the original plan was to house these two together, but I don't trust them. I don't want Meatlug hurting Toothless, or vice versa. So later on, I might house these guys with somebody else. I won't spoil anything, as that's kind of future me to worry about. Toothless and Meatlug are housed in their own 60 cm enclosures. In the enclosures, they've got their bedding, a fake rucksack these guys can go into, as being, Cunninghams, so like to wedge themselves into stuff. Got a proper hiding enclosure, food bowl, water bowl, heat pad, and the LED UVB light bars, and the backing too. The enclosure we're looking at right now is a 140 cm enclosure that houses my bucket of monitor, Dusty. So with Dusty's setup here, we've got sandstone substrate, 2 rock hides, and 2 hollow logs they can go into. So he's got 4 places to hide. Food bowl, water bowl, a croc skull as an ornament, a couple of fake plants in there to add a bit more greenery. He's got his heat in UVB and a background, which actually sets off the enclosure quite nicely. Here is the man, the myth, the legend that is Dusty. Dusty here wasn't very happy when he saw the camera, as he was quite spooked by it. So with handling wise, I kind of leave him be, as I tried plenty of times in the past and it just never ended well. So at the moment, I'm working slowly with him by giving him some fuzzy mice off the end of the tongs and leave some superworms in his bowl. But apart from that, he's getting a bit more used to me being in the room and hanging out in the open, unlike before where he would see me and just go straight to one of the hides. From one legend to another, we have Akko, who is the diva of the reptile room. Now, Akko here is starting to get to her later years, so we are going to be a bit more careful what we put in her enclosure. So Akko here is a female eastern war dragon. A bit of a unique specimen, if I say so myself, but she's doing just fine, pretty healthy for what she is, being a dwarf. But let's have a look at her setup. Akko is also housed in a 140 cm enclosure. In her setup, we do have coconut fibre as a substrate, a stump that she loves to bask on, her hide, a couple of branches. We've got her backing, heat, UVB, her fake plant, water bowl, and a couple of rocks, as well as a diva sign and a princess castle, because she's kind of a diva princess. On the bottom shelf, we do have a 120 cm enclosure that houses my two beautiful shinglebacks, Monty and Anastasia, which are currently basking at the moment. So with their setup, we've got the reptile hemp stuff as a substrate, food bowl, water bowl, two hides that they can both share as a kind of cute sleeping together. They're quite an adorable couple actually. Got their backing, heat, and UVB. Here's a closer look at our beautiful shinglebacks. So the one on the left hand side there is Monty. He's our very shy but very handsome boy. The one on the right hand side there is Anastasia. She's a very beautiful but outgoing girl. Monty here was more than happy just to chill out under the heat and kind of keep his own personal space. Meanwhile, Anastasia saw me and came over for her hair scratches. She's such a sweetheart. To the other side of our lizard room, psych, we've got another snake. Now, this is Aurora. She's a female diamond python, doing exceptionally well, smashing food. She's taking medium rats now, so I've got to upgrade her soon because she's grown just too quick. Aurora there is housed in a 60 cm enclosure. In her enclosure, we've got her substrate, water bowl, her hide. So underneath the enclosure where the hide is a heat pad keeping her nice and warm. Her branches, backing, and on top of the enclosure, we do have a LED UVB light bar. Like I said before earlier with Atrum, diamond pythons require UVB. We've got a couple more 60 cm enclosures to go through. This one we're checking out here, his name is Thumper. He's a Gigi skink. In his enclosure, I've got sands as substrate, food bowl, water bowl, a fake mushroom, a hide. Then he's got his fake rock stack as Gigi skinks are part of the Cunningham family, so they do like to wedge themselves in rock work. Got his backing, heat, and UVB. Have a closer look at this little guy. He's very cheeky. Thumper is a bit of a funny character, as when I first got him, things were going pretty well. We had a good bond. He trusted me. He was very easygoing, no issues whatsoever. Then one day he woke up and decided to choose violence. So since then, every time I'm trying to fix his cage, get his food bowl, water bowl, whatever the case may be, he will actively charge at me to bite me. The only time he will accept me is when I give his favourite treat, which is superworms. Thumper's neighbour here is Pedro. Now Pedro here is a pink tongue skink, a very shy, secretive little fellow here. He comes out every now and again to do his thing of a night time. But overall, as you can see, he's pretty healthy, pretty thick, and no complaints from either of us in this video. With Pedro's enclosure, we do have that reptile hemp in his enclosure mixed in with some sphagnum moss. As I have found out, he likes to burrow in amongst that stuff, which is great as some enrichment for him. Got his food bowl, water bowl, two hides on the ground there, fake plants, a branch, and a backing. With that backing, I've incorporated a cave, so he's got a third place to hide as he's quite shy. Display light on top of his enclosure and heat just to keep him happy and healthy. Rapid fire time. So on the top shelf there, that white enclosure, that's a 50 cm enclosure that houses my Sansuma Sui. So with her setup, sands a substrate, water bowl, fake plant, a couple of hides, a backing, and she shares a heat pad with Elizabeth, who is another Shiro skink. Won't bother going through her setup because it's pretty much identical to all her siblings. Then the one on the right hand side there is another 50 cm enclosure. It's just black. That has his two baby Gibson War Dragons in that, Tinsel and Bell. They've got coconut fibre as a substrate, water bowl, two hides, a couple of branches and backing, and they share a UVB light with Elizabeth. The cage down below is a 90 cm enclosure that houses my lowland blotch blue tongue Blaine. We've got a backing, two hides, a heat pad on the left hand side, substrate, food bowl and water bowl. Here's a closer look at Tinsel and Bell's enclosure. Now these two are doing great. Now at the moment they're smashing crickets. Sooner or later I'll try to get them onto dog food. The one we're looking at here is Belle. She was born on Boxing Day. Now how I tell these two apart is Belle is more of a greener colour. Then if we pan over to Tinsel here, she's more of a browner colour. But of course when I pan over she decided to go into the hide. Now a great thing is I can show you this. They are getting used to being handled. Typically war dragons are very shy, skittish species. But I'm trying to work with these two from a young age and hopefully one day they're very easy to handle. As you know, a lot of people think you can't train a war dragon, but I'm trying to prove that you can with a bit of patience and time, but do it from a young age. As you can see, they are getting used to it, and hopefully one day they'll be nice and big and be very impressive to show off. Here is Elizabeth. Now with her personality, she's a little bit different from her siblings, where she being shy, but also be very bold at times. So depending on the day, it's kind of depending on what kind of Elizabeth you're going to get. But what I like about all the Shiro that we have, they all have their own little personalities and also different colour variants, so it's pretty interesting to see their own little identities. Here is Sui, who is our little thief of the night. Now, of course, being a nocturnal species, I don't see her all too much. However, this particular night she was very active, so I was able to get a glimpse of her. Now, with Sui here, I do not handle her as she's very shy, very skittish, and will often poop on me, so it's more or less a looking animal. However, with sand swimmers, you can get them to the point where you can hand feed them and develop a bit of a trust with them. However, I'll be very patient if I were you. Moving down to Blaine, who is our lowland blotch blue tongue. With Blaine here, we do find she's more of an early bird. She'll come out before the lights are even turned on. As soon as the food bowl is popped in, she'll come over, have a bit of a feast. Then after, she has her fill, she'll go back in her hide and sleep for the majority of the late morning. She might come out early afternoon again for a bit of exercise. Then she'll go back in her hide and just kind of chill out for the rest of the day. Below Blaine, we have another blue-tongue skink. However, this is the eastern blue-tongue locale. This is Bo. Now, with Bo, he's not really a morning person, so he's having a bit of a yawn there. A bit of a sneeze as well. Yep, there it is. Now, Bo, he'll come out late afternoon, or mid-afternoon sometimes. He'll have his feed, destroy his house, and then goes back to bed. He's a very chill dude. He'll often just sit there and watch the world go by. And when I get him out, he goes, yeah, whatever. So, he never caused me any dramas, this guy. Then our last animal of the reptile room, this is Billy. She's another eastern blue-tongue skink who was a rescue. She lost half her tail when she was a baby, and very much like Bo, she can be quite destructive at times, but when I get her out, she's more of a fruit cake compared to Bo, and much more heavier than Bo too. She's quite a girthy little blue tongue. However, she bounced back almost from death, basically, when we got her, so she's thrived, survived, and conquered, basically. With Bo and Billy, they are housed in their own separate 127 enclosures. In their enclosures, we've got that reptile hemp as their substrate, food bowl, water bowl, their hide, a ramp to help them get on top of their hides, a couple of rocks to help wear down their nails, backing, and their UVB. The only difference between these two enclosures is that Bo has a heat element, while Billy has a heat pad. With that, that will conclude the reptile room update for July for 2026. It is a bit of a late night here, so if I do sound a bit quiet or a bit, disinterested in doing this video, I do apologise. It's been a late one. So many takes, I'm not going to lie. But for those who stuck around to the very end, appreciate it as always. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.